Yes. Hello students, in the previous class, so you have learned about these contents of power electronics. Number one is controlled rectifiers. What are controlled rectifiers and what are the types of controlled rectifiers, like semi converters, two quadrant converters, full wave bridge converters and dual converters. And after that I have studied about line commutation, what is meant by line commutation and how commutation occurs and why commutation is important. Of course, in thyristor field, commutation plays an important role, and moreover, once again, the firing is also very important. Both are equally important. So, commutation is also an important aspect here. Then you have studied about what is the firing angle and then conduction angle. So, firing angle is the angle at which you are going to start your SCR or switch on your SCR, we can say. Conduction angle is the conduction period of the thyristor. Then you have studied about single phase half wave controlled converters in the last class. Now, also you have been given a description about quadrant operation, single quadrant operation, two quadrant operation and four quadrant operation in the previous class, in fact. And now this is what we say the firing angle, the diagram which has been drawn here, the firing angle, okay. And then SCR starts conducting from this end. This is the firing angle, right. At this angle alpha, the SCR has been fired, and this is the conduction angle beta. Now, of course, this small circuit diagram to show how the SCR is triggered using gate control circuit. So, all these things have already been exposed to. Now, this is about semiconductor converters operate in first quadrant only. First quadrant only, voltage and current both are positive, output power is always positive and current is unidirectional. So, these are semi converters, right. So, in today's class I am covering only these two units, that is 3.6 in your syllabus, single phase fully controlled bridge converter, the schematic diagram of that and waveform pertaining to this fully controlled bridge converter. The second one is fully controlled three phase bridge converter, its schematic diagram and its waveform. So, these two units I am going to cover. So, this finishes the chapter number 3 in your syllabus. Now, before I start, so you need to have the knowledge of full wave bridge rectifier. Of course, all these things I have already studied in second and third semesters. Now, but still you need to know about this bridge rectifier. So, bridge rectifier, the moment I say you have to connect four diodes in a bridge form. Now, it is a rectifier, so rectifier means converting AC to DC. Now, this, when you connect four diodes in a bridge pattern, it is called as a uncontrolled rectifier. Uncontrolled rectifier bridge circuit uses four diodes, okay. Now, how the circuit looks, it is like this, and now D1, D2, D3 and D4, these four are connected in a bridge pattern. So, this is a common cathode terminal, both cathodes have been made common. Common anode terminals D4 and D2, this is common cathode, common anode terminals and forming the output which is connected to a resistive load circuit. So, this is an uncontrolled bridge rectifier which you have studied already, and remember you have to connect this to a DC source, DC output, and these are the input AC. So, do not do a mistake here connecting transformer here and here, taking output here, please do not do that. This is a common mistake that you do. but remember this is common cathode and common anode terminals forming your output connection connected to resistor like this, and this is the output. And now this is the waveform which you already know about it. It is a full wave bridge rectifier in which this is the input source voltage Vs continuously like this, and then this is a waveform for both positive and negative cycles. It has rectified, that is both cycles are rectified. And in this diagram see diodes are shown, the output waveforms of the diodes. Voltage is 0 means this pair is conducting, and this is reverse biased, this is reverse biased. D1, D2 are conducting, D3, D4 are reverse biased. In the next cycle, say this is conducting, D3, D4 are conducting, whereas D1, D2 is reverse biased. So, this is easy to understand through waveforms rather than simply writing and speaking, because this voltage is 0 means, see where diode is conducting, current is maximum, voltage is 0. In case of say short circuit, we say voltage is 0, current is maximum always. Wherever the voltage is 0, we can say definitely it is conducting, voltage 0, and current is, of course, the current waveforms are not drawn here, and even for writing your description about the diagram, waveforms are definitely important in power electronics area. So, it is an easy tool to understand and explain the behavior of the circuit rather than simply reading the text given in the book. So, now this is very clear that these diode D1, D2 are conducting, here D3, D4 are conducting. It has been shown separately like this, and this is the output waveform, uncontrolled output, unidirectional output. Now, it is a DC, input AC is converted to DC. Remember, this is uncontrolled rectifier, uncontrolled rectifier, I am repeating. Now, you are studying about controlled rectifier, how to control this voltage. You know very well that SCR can be used for controlling the output. That means you know when to trigger your SCR and when to turn off your SCR. So, turn on time, turn off time are also important in case of this operation. So, we can use SCR, silicon controlled rectifier, for controlling the output. That is why we say it is a controlled rectifier. Now, you have studied already about controlled rectifier, half wave controlled rectifier in the previous class. Now, introduction, see this is controlled rectifiers are line commutated AC to DC power converters. The name line commutated, I said commutation is also an important aspect in power electronics. Commutation means switching off your thyristor is commutation. So, I have been given several list of commutation techniques, and you know you have studied about line commutation also. What is line commutation? So, reversal of voltage, natural reversal of voltage is applied across the thyristor for commutating it. Now, that is why controlled rectifiers are line commutated AC to DC power converters, which are used to convert fixed voltage, fixed frequency AC power supply into variable DC output voltage. So, this is the definition for controlled rectifier. Now, there are several aspects as to be discussed here, because it is a complex part of rectification, controlled rectification in fact. And you know you can connect load resistance, you are going to connect at the output a load can be resistive, pure resistive circuit, or it can be a combination of resistance, inductance, etc. Now, once again the output current is very important here. Sometimes it will be continuous and sometimes it will be discontinuous. So, there are several aspects to discuss here, because once again it is a very complex part to discuss in fact. So, only the required thing, that is only continuous load current is discussed here. So, this is within the scope of the syllabus in fact. So, it has very different techniques of load current, continuous, discontinuous, and why it is continuous, why it is discontinuous. So many things I have to discuss in fact. Now this is load resistive when load is discontinuous, and now this is fully single phase fully controlled bridge converters. They use only thyristors, mean to say SCRs we can say, provides wider control of DC voltage. And now before you start learning about this full controlled bridge converter, the thing is assumptions made before you start studying about these converters. With these assumptions, this part of fully controlled bridge converter is done. Then the number one is load is inductive. I not said load is resistive, load is inductive. You know, if it is a resistance, you get discontinuous current at the output during changeover. I will discuss these things in fact a little in the due course. Now first assumption is the load is inductive. The other one is output load current is constant. This is the major assumption. So for a constant load current, that is continuous load current, output load current is continuous and ripple free. You know what is ripple? Ripple is this. So in case of a bridge rectifier, you say this is a ripple. Though output is rectified, these are ripple voltages. So this is to be fixed. So for this what we do? We use filters in the circuit. After filtering, we get constant DC output voltage. So these are called as ripples. So now unlike your full wave bridge rectifier, you have ripples. You know the ripple factor of a full wave bridge rectifier. You have studied about ripple factor also. So the problem is, in order to get ripple free output, we have to insert filtering circuits. So now you know what is the ripple. Now this output load current is continuous and ripple free. So this is another assumption made before you start learning about this full wave bridge rectifier. I mean to say there is ripple free. Now how to filter it? Let us see. We use large inductance which acts as a filter. You know there are different types of filters, that is capacitive filter, inductive filter and pi filter, etc. Now in this circuit, so we assume that we are using a large inductive circuit and which acts as a filtering output in fact. So that inductance, so that gives a continuous load current which is ripple free. So the problem of filtering is solved here to some extent for discussion purpose. Now another important thing is source inductance is also 0. I mean to say this is, don't get confused with load inductance and source inductance. So once again I said it is a difficult part to analyze this controlled bridge rectifiers. So before you start, these are the assumptions made. That is why I am repeating these things. Load inductance is large, that is why it is continuous and ripple free. Source inductance is 0 because it will not offer any disturbances to your input circuit or waveform. We will come to that waveform little later, so that even source inductance also plays an important role in switching action. All devices are ideal, devices are your SCRs, all SCRs are ideal, and device turns on and turns off immediately, because this is an important aspect of SCR characteristics when you learn the parameters of SCR. And in the data sheet, you know these points, this is turn on time and turn off time should be noted properly. So these are the assumptions made before you start learning about this full wave controlled bridge rectifier, controlled rectifiers. Now how to write the circuit? So replace all diodes by thyristors, that is all. So this point you have to write properly. Replace all the 4 diodes by SCRs. Now we are replacing this thyristor T1, T2, T3, T4, the same thing, and the load you can see here, the load is connected to this resistance, inductance, and see what is this EMF. This EMF is shown here. So, this circuit we are analyzing, that is all, not simply R circuit, RL circuit or whatever it is. So, I am confining my discussion only to this part, RLE load, RLE load, because it becomes a very large part of power electronics converters part in fact. Now, see, we are using large inductance because we are assuming that it is load is continuous and ripple free. And what is this EMF? It is not externally connected EMF, right. So, EMF may be due to a battery if you connect, or back EMF of a DC motor. So, this is a perfect application of this particular full wave controlled bridge rectifier. So, this EMF is written in place of motor back EMF. Now, this is an application part of this particular bridge rectifier. Now, T1, T2 are triggered at alpha conduction angle. See, this is the firing angle alpha. T3, T4 are triggered at alpha plus pi, right. Each device conducts for pi radians, that is 180 degrees. Each device has to conduct at 180 degrees. Now, since there are 2 pulses per cycle, so this part I will justify this when I take up this waveform part. Since there are 2 pulses per cycle, it is called 2 pulse converter. So, this is the name given to that, 2 pulses. It generates 2 pulses in one cycle. You can see here, this T1 and T2 are triggered at some instant, let us say alpha is equal to 0 to pi. T1, T2 are triggered. Just like a diode, D1, D2 will conduct during positive half cycle, negative half cycle T2, T3, T4 will conduct. So, all these things holds good here also. Only thing is addition of these gates, that is all, and it all depends when the thyristor is triggered. So, the moment you trigger T1 and T2, it is as good as connecting 2 diodes, that is all. These 2 diodes are conducting now, we say. Now, I say these 2 thyristors are conducting at alpha when it is triggered. Then when you have to trigger the next set, T3 and T4 alpha plus pi after 180 degrees. So, these 2 are triggered. Now, remember, when once you trigger these thyristors T1 and T2, we said while explaining SAR, whenever you trigger SAR, it starts conducting continuously, it is difficult to switch off. So, in order to switch off, what you should do? You have to bring down the SCR current below the holding value, or apply a large reverse voltage across the thyristor. Then your SCR will turn off, that is called as commutation. Now, how these 2 thyristors are commutated? Because you know the natural reversal of input source voltage is assumed pure sinusoidal wave. Now, these 2 thyristors get commutated and allows the triggering of T3 and T4. Now, T3 and T4 are fired at alpha plus pi. So, that is the meaning. So, when you are going to trigger T1, T2, when you are going to trigger T3 and T4. And these points are important, worth noting. In fact, you have to write the description, only this much, this is enough how a circuit works, because you know already the functioning of bridge rectifier. Just now I brushed up the previous semesters, this thing, 4 bridge rectifier, 4 diodes which are connected in a bridge pattern. Now, explaining this is just the firing sequence, you have to explain, and what thyristor is conducting and which thyristor is blocked, etc. That is why the firing angle is important here, conduction angle is important here, and that is why the assumption all thyristors are ideal. So, they will automatically turn off. Switching time is very important here in case of these thyristors. So, that is why Based on those assumptions, these are written. Assumed that they are switched off immediately after crossing 0. Now, load current may become discontinuous at high value of firing angle, or when the load is purely resistive, or for low value. So, there are several aspects to discuss here, because we are not, this is out of scope of this particular curriculum. So, that is why this part I am not discussing here. So, we are confining to our syllabus of our particular course. Then when commutation of SCR is desired, it must be reverse biased and incoming SCR must be forward biased. So, what are the points to remember? When commutation of any SCR is desired, it should be reverse biased. Incoming SCR must be forward biased. So, this is one point to remember. Next point is, when incoming SCR is gated on or fired, the current is transferred from outgoing to incoming SCR. Now, we say when SCR is triggered, we say it is an outgoing thyristor, and then other set should be an incoming one. So, in each cycle you have incoming as well as outgoing thyristors. So, now we say just like handing over the conduction, handing over, firing means you are handing over the current to this set and other set. The circuit turn off time must be greater than SCR turn off time. See, this is very important. Otherwise, you will get harmonics and the output, and the device may get damaged. Commutation is achieved by means of a natural commutation or line commutation. So, these 3 points are very important whenever you write a description of this controlled rectifiers. So, these points you have to write. So, what are the points? So, these are the points. T1, T2 are triggered at alpha, alpha plus pi is T3 and T4, and each device conducts for pi radians, and this 2 pulses per cycle, we will come to that little later. So, now, so this is about a load current part of your control rectifier. Next, if the value of inductance is large, load current does not decrease to 0 during the freewheeling time interval. Freewheeling time means whenever it is handing over the conduction current to one set and other set, when it is shifting, so this freewheeling time is there. So, usually a freewheeling diode is connected. So, freewheeling diode, while discussing power diodes, freewheeling diode is an important aspect, because they are fast switching devices, reverse recovery time. In fact, if you can remember the first power diode class, so reverse recovery time is very, very important in case of this type of freewheeling diodes. So, such diodes are used, Schottky diodes, fast switching action, and load current waveform will be continuous. Of course, the inductive load current, the current it is shown here, say, so it is continuous, it will not cross the 0 x axis. So, this looks like this. So, this is SCR turn on time, and this is the freewheeling time. Say this freewheeling time, if you do not use a freewheeling diode, it crosses this like this. Okay. So, now the load current during this time, it will become 0, this becomes discontinuous. Now, in order to make this, otherwise if without this, the discontinuous current looks like this, the curve will drop here and it will be 0, then start SCR, it will be 0 like this, it forms a discontinuous current. So, since you have used a large inductive load, so inductance and your freewheeling diode comes to your help, so it makes it continuous. So, this is the way to understand how the load current can be made continuous. Next is this. So, this waveform you have to write. So, as I said, the load current is constant and continuous, no ripples, it is totally ripple free. So, this waveform is important to write. So, along with the bridge controlled rectifier, you have to write down this waveform, which is very essential. You can see this SCR is triggered here, T1, T2 is conducting, and after that also it starts conducting. So, this is a reverse bias, and once again the other set is triggered like this. So, this waveform is very helpful to understand the concept of firing of T1, T2, T3, T4. Now it is fired at alpha, and next set is fired at alpha plus pi. Pi is this is pi. So this angle is pi, 180 degrees, and this is 0 degrees, 0 to pi, then pi to 2 pi. So this is one complete cycle. So it gives 2 pulses in one cycle. So it is a 2 pulse converter. Okay. Now this is another important thing that you have to understand. This full control bridge rectifier, control rectifier, is a 2 quadrant operation. Load is always connected to source in this case, because it is continuous, current is continuous, load is not disconnected, mean to say it is continuously connected. In this case, controlled rectifier operation, 0 alpha is lying between 0 degree and 90 degree. Now you get controlled rectifier action. When you change the firing angle beyond 90 degree, that means 90 to 180, it acts as a line commutated inverter operation. So now this quadrant number 1, quadrant number 4. So you have to understand this quadrant operation, very important here. That means you see the voltage is positive, current is positive, right? Current is positive, voltage is positive. Now you say controlled rectifier operation. So for that, the firing angle is 0 to 90 degree. If the angle is exceeding 90 to 180 or in this range, the voltage is negative, but current is positive, unidirectional current. Now this area represents line commutated inverter operation. How it happens? Let us see the waveform. See, this is the waveform. Okay. So this is the output current I naught, it is continuous, and this is the angle alpha which is fired at this instant. Fine. So this waveform, output voltage waveform, is like this. It is a controlled rectifier operation, and of course these two you need not write. These are the current in the thyristors. Current in the thyristors, T1, T2 and T3, T4. So this part you can always neglect. See, this is the one. So there are many waveforms here. So don't be panic, because you have to write the waveforms correctly, otherwise it gives no meaning. Now this alpha, this waveform is for alpha less than 90 degree. That means the circuit is operating in converter mode operation. You can see the output load voltage, it is drawn like this. Okay. So this for alpha, T1, T2 are triggered, T3, T4 is triggered. So 2 pulse converter, fine, this is giving 2 pulses like this. You can see the output load current, it is shown continuous with little ripple. Okay. In the earlier diagram I showed, it is a straight line, fine, both you can use. Some textbooks they write like this, and in some textbooks they assume it is very ideal. In fact, to start with, I started with ideal condition. So when you write straight line like this, I naught, it is an ideal condition. This is actual practical condition. Okay. You can see these thyristors, they are not rectangular waves, they are little bit curvy in nature. Of course, these are practical things. Of course, this diagram, so this is shown a rectangular waveform. Okay. So both of them are same. These are ideal condition. This is an ideal condition. So this is an actual condition. So don't get unnecessarily confused due to these waveforms. You can omit this one as well as this one. Okay. And this is the voltage minus Vm, you can see here, commutation period. Okay. So this is the voltage across the thyristors. I said you have to commutate the thyristors. When you are going to commutate, yes, this waveform will come to your help. So when it is getting commutated, so you can see here, this is negative voltage applied. So now this pair is getting commutated here, you see the arrow mark, and here it is getting commutated, right, during the next cycle. So these waveforms are very educative and very important, very informative in fact. So without this waveform, you simply keep on reading the book, you can't understand anything. So, anything you do, please do it with waveform, so which gives you complete clear picture whenever you study about power electronics, because otherwise simply if you read the text, you know, you will not understand anything. So, they always write along with this waveform. So, waveforms are very very important here. Now, this waveform is drawn for firing angle alpha less than 90 degrees. So, in this diagram, you know, you have to write down, say in the examination if you get, so you have to write alpha less than 90 degree, this waveform and this waveform, and you can explain. So, in order to understand the operation of the circuit, you know, so this is helpful. Of course, you need not write the voltage across the thyristors. So, for a diploma level student, you know, we do not expect these things. Even if you write, no problem, it is well appreciated. If you have understood, definitely write this. Otherwise, any texture on this, or if you refer any book, you know, so you get, ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಈ ವೇವ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ವೇವ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ಚಿಂತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ 3 ಆರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಅಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ and how your circuit is operating for alpha is less than 90 degree. Then see, that's what I have blocked this, you have to write only this much. So, next is when alpha is greater than 90 degree, it acts as a line commutated inverter. How? See, alpha has gone beyond 90 degree here, 90 degree ಗಿನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಫೈರ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. So, conduction angle is only this much, this is a firing angle, this is a firing angle. Conduction angle is only this much. Okay. Now, you see the voltage is negative, less positive, more negative. This is very informative here. That is why if you simply read the information about this, it is difficult to understand, but waveforms will come to your help. So, now it is more of negative than positive. Then voltage is negative, current is positive. What is power? P is equal to V into I in case of DC. Fine. Negative voltage into positive current will give you negative power. So, it is inverter operation, definitely. You can prove this like this. Okay. So, this alpha is greater than 90 degree. It is a line commutated inverter. Okay. So, earlier it is a line commutated converter. You can see the load waveform, output wave current shown with little ripples. Okay, or else you can simply write a straight line like this, that is all. So, no confusion at all. You assume an ideal condition and write a straight line here. Okay. Now, this is a waveform for alpha greater than 90 degree. So, now I think this quadrantal diagram which I referred, this very informative now, or it is justified, I can say, right, because this portion is controlled rectifier operation, this portion is inverter operation because voltage is negative. Okay. Now, coming to this operation, 90 degree output voltage is negative, we have shown in the waveform, it is called line commutated inverter. This operation is used in regenerative braking of DC motor. So, this is an important application in industry where you need this regenerative braking principle, because this part you are learning in 6th semester industrial drives and controls, a complete power electronics related topic you are going to study in that, what is regenerative braking. But still you have to know what is this regeneration, why do we call this as regenerative braking. Then EMF E is the back EMF of the motor. So, in the earlier diagram I showed you, know, so this diagram in the very beginning of the class I showed you this, right. So, this is a EMF which shown, it is back EMF of a DC motor. Okay. So, now inherent resistance, inherent inductance is there along with this back EMF. Now, I can replace this part by a DC motor, definitely, right. So, motor having armature and field, fine. So, this is an application of DC motor control. So, why do we use? So, to control the speed of a DC motor in industries. So, this is a particular application of this particular control rectifier. Now coming to this one, okay, back EMF motor. So coming to this application, DC motor control in steel mills, I think madam might have shown you all those diagrams of steel mill, paper mill, so which employs DC motors, in textile mills also, AC fed traction systems using DC traction motor, all these things you learn in industrial drives and control. In fact, especially this traction system, steel mills, paper mills, all these things are covered in 6th semester industrial drives and control. Okay. So electrochemical processes, metallurgical processes, magnet power supplies, reactor controls, and then you portable handheld drives, variable speed industrial drives, battery charging, high voltage DC transmission, and UPS. So these are some of the application. All these applications madam might have covered, showing you many diagrams. Okay. Now this particularly when I speak industrial application of this particular controlled rectifiers, suppose if you use a DC motor in an industry for a control of speed, if you connect a DC motor to this controlled rectifier, without control rectifier the motor runs take on a load. Okay. When you switch off the power supply, because of the kinetic energy, the motor runs for a longer time in industries. I am told when I visited an industry, without a controlled rectifiers, in a sugar mill, okay, it took nearly 90 minutes to stop without a controlled rectifier I am speaking. So in order to make that motor stop completely, it will take nearly 90 ಒಂದೂವರೆ ಗಂಟೆ ಬೇಕು ಒಂದು ಮೋಟರ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್ ವೈ ದಿಸ್ ರೀಜನರೇಟಿವ್ ಬ್ರೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್, ವೆನ್ ದ ಮೋಟಾರ್ ಈಸ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್, ವೆನ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ದ ಮೋಟಾರ್, it takes 90 minutes to stop. It's very long time, 1.5 hours. Then once again the amount of starting time. When you switch on a motor, it may take some more time because of inertial load, etc. But due to the advent of these thyristor power controls, when you make a motor to run as a generator, when it happens, see when you look at the circuit, so this is very important to understand. See, when you replace this with a DC motor, okay, now the load has to feed, or when the motor takes current from the supply and runs, it is quite obvious. So motor receives power and runs as a motor. Now in order to reverse the direction of motor, what should happen? This back EMF should be greater than the source EMF, then only the motor can run as a generator. Now when it is running as a motor, this voltage is greater than this voltage. Now source will feed the current to the load, whereas if you reverse it, the motor running as a generator, then the EMF at this point should be greater than this point, then only you can feed back. We can say it is a regenerative operation. That means current reversal. How to do it? This is very important. So when you reverse this current, the motor, when you reverse the motor, now you have armature as well as field. So you can use both techniques for controlling the speed or bringing back. Regenerative action is done here. Now armature resistance is less. Okay, armature control or field control, which one you prefer? Armature control, the time constant, RC time constant is more in case of armature control, and it is less if you use field control. So fast deceleration you go for armature control, and slow deceleration you go for field control. So armature control, so reversal of armature, that means motor you are reversing or making it to work as a generator, because the back EMF in the motor along with the inductance will add up with the EMF and it will become more than the source EMF. Now it has a capacity to reverse. So that is why when you refer the diagram fourth quadrant operation, the current is continuous and unidirectional and voltage is reversing. So this reversal of voltage, and we think that the motor is running as a generator. Because of this action, the motor tries to rotate in reverse direction so that it comes or decelerates fast. So this is the very important application of a particular controlled rectifiers. Okay. So of course this is true even for 3-phase systems. So now this is a complete only a part of this controlled rectifier, bridge rectifier with waveforms, and of course with the assumptions that source inductance is 0, load inductance is large, and all devices they are ideal and perfect, turn on time, turn off time, they are ideal. So with that, so this much is there for full controlled rectifier. Now coming to 3-phase converters, this is a very complex part for power electronics engineers to understand the operation and write the 3-phase waveforms. 3-phase bridge converters are controlled 3-phase controlled rectifiers. Say what are the points that are to be observed here? First we learn about rectifiers, because without knowing the actual operation of rectifier, it is difficult to understand 3-phase control rectifier also. Of course only thing the change is diode or thyristor, that is all. Replace diodes with thyristors. You can see there are so this is the in fact a transformer, like let me say star delta star transformer, and now the output is connected here D1, D3, D5, D4, D6 and D2. So diodes are numbered like this. This is got its own significance. Do not write simply 1, 2, 3, 4. It is not valid. This is based on the conduction of or switching on of your thyristor or diode which is getting forward biased. So this is phase A, phase B, phase C. So remember, please do not write these numbers 1, 2, 3. They have their own significance to write. Of course, one crude method I tell you, 1 plus 3 it is 4, 3 plus 3 it is 6, then 5 plus 3 it is 8, 8 cannot come, so that is why make it 2. This is one crude method to remember the sequencing or upper half and lower half. This common cathode, common anode, once again it holds good here, and now you are connecting a resistive load across the output. Okay. So rectifier fine, when you say this is the one, the changeover takes place at point x, y, z, intersecting points. So these are the intersecting points, remember. So this is at 30 degree, at every 30 degree you have intersection, right. So you know this is 30 degree, this is 60, 90, 120, 180, right. Then so sorry 90, so this is 180, okay. 30 plus 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. Remember why I am telling all these things. Say first, it is a homework, please go home and practice writing these waveform. This is very very important. So many of you do a mistake, and it is difficult for anybody to write also. It takes its own time. Then how to practice? See, you know the phase voltages A, B, C. There are 3 phase voltages A, B and then C. Okay. Do one thing, write this y-axis and x-axis like this. Mark these intersecting points with a light pen, 30 degree, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, so and so on. Then try to write this sine wave perfectly first. Okay. Afterwards, these intersecting points, looking into this, you can practice, because it needs a lot of practice, otherwise it is difficult to write a 3 phase also. Now this 3-phase line, so this starting like this, then like this, then mark this peak 90 degree here, and then this one like this. Okay. So the other phase also similarly. Now these intersecting points, why I have written this intersecting points? So these diodes, they conduct at these intersecting points, and change over takes place at the intersecting point. When D1, D2 conducting, it change over to D3, D4 and then D5, D6. So let us come to this point, upper half and lower half also. So there are another intersecting points 1, 2, 3 like this. So this is only a diode I am telling, this is not rectifier, the control rectifier, it is simply a rectifier. You can see here the points are marked for X, Y and Z, upper half and lower half P, Q, R. So I am telling you, please practice writing these waveforms and intersecting points, these are very important for you, right. So if it is a diode 3-phase diode bridge, so this is a positive group of conduction, negative group of conduction like this. So this is D1, D3 and D5 and D2, D4, D6, and you can see it is output rectifier, fine, the output waveform is like this. Okay. So you can see this VAB, VAC, VBC, VBA. You remember, you observe one more thing here, A comes twice, AB, AC, BC, BA, CA, CB. So like this you have to remember writing the conduction periods. So because 3-phase is very complex, as I already told, ಇದು ತುಂಬ ಕಷ್ಟ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. This is only 3-phase diode bridge rectifier. Now we see 3-phase control rectifiers. So single phase half control bridge, just now I discussed, and fully controlled bridge converters. Okay, these two have already been discussed and used extensively in industrial application. In fact, up to and about 15 kilowatts of output power. The power is less, you can go for this type of control rectifiers. What happens if the power increases? Yes, there is a solution, you can go for 3-phase, right. So this is a 3-phase one. And of course, in the earlier case we assumed its output is ripple free, equal to twice the AC supply frequency, and a single phase full wave control rectifier provide 2 output pulses, whereas your 3-phase converter produces 3 pulses in one cycle. Okay. 3-phase converters are 3-phase control rectifiers which are used to convert AC power to DC output power across the load. So this is a common description that you write. Of course, the 3-phase waveforms will look like this. So this is a vectorial representation of waveform VAN, VBN and VCN. So they are displaced by 120 degrees. Okay. Now what are the features of these 3-phase control rectifiers? They operate from 3-phase AC supply voltage, and it is obvious. They provide high DC output voltage and high DC output power, because it is meant for high power application. So high output voltage, ripple frequency, higher output voltage, ripple frequency. Filtering requirements are simplified by smoothing load voltage and load current. So of course these are common requirements of a DC drive system. Okay. Now we can see, once again I am repeating here. So these are very important things, that is X, Y and Z for upper half of thyristors and lower half of thyristors. I am calling this thyristor because it is a control rectifier, P, Q and R. Now what are these intersecting points? This is angle 30 degree, 60 degree, okay, 90 degree, 120, 180. So this is one cycle. Next, similarly plus 30, go on adding this. So you get all intersecting points X, Y, Z, and this has significance. Your firing angle is referred or seen from this end and not from 0, unlike other rectifiers, control rectifiers. So your firing angle measurement starts from X intersecting point, this and this, and not this 0, because this is alpha. If you are measuring firing angle, you have to measure from here, alpha plus 30. So this is the first firing pulse that you get here. Okay. Now, so when alpha is equal to 0 degree, so you can see the firing sequence shown there, T1, T3, and T5. You observe this very carefully. Now T1 and T2 are fired, so they have 120 degree phase displacement with each other. T1 and T3, these are upper half, these are lower half. Each one they are fired at sequence of 120 degree, and the firing points are shown at T1, T3, T4. Say 120 degree phase displacement is there. So this is the firing sequence. The positive group is conducting T1, T3, T5. The negative group is conducting T2, T4 and T6. Remember, when you fire at exactly alpha is equal to 0, see alpha 0 means not this one, remember this is the one, alpha. So your firing sequence, firing angle is measured from this intersecting point, and once again I am repeating, this intersecting point and not from natural 0. Okay. Now this thyristor is conducting, it is more positive, right? Phase A, this is more positive, T1 is more positive, right? And the other two you can see there is negative. So the sequence of operation is very important here, rather than simply writing this waveform is one complex part, and this showing the sequence conduction is very another important part in fact. Okay. Now when you fire this particular thyristor exactly at 0 degree, it works as simple diode rectifier, right? Alpha equal to 0 degree, they have 120 degree phase displacement, okay, between T1 and T3, upper half and lower half both. So why 120? So you know why they are displaced by 120 degree phase displacement. So X, Y, Z are called point of natural commutation. You know, incoming thyristors and outgoing thyristors are very common feature in case of control rectifiers. Now X, Y, Z are PQR, so they are called as point of natural commutation, because the moment you trigger T1 and T2, so they should be commutated. Okay. Then natural commutation occurs at these points, because the reverse voltage is applied across these two thyristors, and incoming thyristor and outgoing thyristor. These terminologies are very important to understand the operation of three phase rectifiers, control rectifiers in fact. You can see for alpha is equal to 60 degree, you can see the diagram shown, say T1, T3, T5, alpha is measured from this point, so this plus this is 60 degree, okay, 30 plus 30, right? So this is 60 degree, 60 plus 30, 90, so this is 90 degree, less 30 becomes, this is alpha 60 degree. So the output waveform is shown here. You can see the output load waveform like this, VABC, VAC, VBC, VBA like this. So this is the firing sequence, T5, T6, okay, the upper half group, okay. You can see the firing sequence, say this and this should match, this and this should match, okay. So don't let simply blindly looking into that. So this is T1, this is the firing sequence, T1 is triggered at this point. You can see the earlier waveform, T1 is triggered at this juncture, alpha is equal to 0. So please remember, these things are very important in three phase control rectifier bridges, right, or control rectifiers. Say this is the firing point, they are not simply like commutator things that what you write in DC machines. So this is the point where they are changing over takes place in three phase bridge rectifiers. So this is the firing sequence, 5 6, 5 6 1, 6 1, 6 1 2, see repetition of these thyristors, then 1 2, 1 2 3, 2 3, 2 3 4. Say like this, you have to remember the firing sequence of these thyristors, they are very important. So X, Y, Z are called as point of natural commutation or PQ. You can see here these points are worth noting. Positive group, they are fired at 120 degree integral, positive group means upper half and lower half. Negative groups, and both groups are fired at 60 degree, commutation occurs at every 60 degrees. Say these points are worth noting for 3-phase rectifiers. At any point of time, 2 SCRs, one from positive group and one negative group should conduct. These points are most important for 3-phase rectifier. At alpha is equal to 0, it behaves as a diode. So alpha is equal to 0 means alpha at exactly intersecting point. So it behaves as a diode. Okay. Now this is when you use positive group of SCRs fired at 120 degree interval. So no two thyristors of same line should be fired because it gives a short circuit, dead short circuit. So you have to maintain proper firing sequence of these thyristors, incoming thyristor, outgoing thyristors, because 3-phase circuit, a single phase circuit fine, a single phase you can simply write down the diagram, but this is very important. 3-phase is very complex thing to understand because you have to correlate with 3 waveforms A, B, C or X, Y, Z or RYB, whatever you call. So you have to write down a proper waveform and then analyze the circuit, analyze this with the waveform. This is very, very important. So please practice, go home, practice writing 3-phase wave first. That is an important concept. Then you can easily remember the thyristors which are conducting. So you concentrate on these intersecting points X, Y, Z, whatever I showed, So those intersecting points will clearly tell you which thyristor is getting more forward bias and which thyristor is getting more reverse biased and which thyristors need firing circuits and changing over from one pair of thyristors to another pair of thyristors. So these things are very, very important when you start learning 3-phase because it is a complex waveform, so while studying this thing, so you should be very careful while writing the waveforms. So waveforms are very, very important tools to understand the behavior of the circuit. Okay. So now I think this is about chapter 3 I am concluding. Okay, that is it.